Hey everyone, before we jump into today's episode, I've got an exciting announcement. My book, Everyday Adventure, is officially live. How to live your ordinary life to the fullest. This is a book that explores what it means to have adventure right where you're at. Adventure is closer than you think. And so this book talks about how we maximize the mundane, how we embrace today, how we ditch our comfort zone, and how we refuse to quit. And I just want to invite you, if that's something that you are drawn to, if you feel like your life has been on autopilot, if you felt in any way that you're longing and waiting for some distant day to come so that you can have true living and true life, this book is written for you. You can get it on Amazon, or you can learn more at everydayadventurebook.com. There you can even download a free sample chapter just to get a taste for what it's all about and to see if it's a book that's for you. But I would love to invite you into this amazing journey. Without further ado, let's jump into today's episode, where we really just take a look at the overview of the book, what it's all about. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and don't forget to get your copy of Everyday Adventure. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Everyday Adventure podcast. How's it going, Megan?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good.
Good.
I'm so good.
This is a crazy week.
Yeah.
This big week. It's launch week for your book.
It is. It is. What's funny is that when we're recording this, the book is supposed to come to my mailbox today. And so I wish I had one to show, because it's like we're recording the past, but it is the future. And so it's this little weird thing. But yeah, super exciting.
Yeah. Does it feel surreal as you're getting closer? Or are you like, I'm ready to go?
I'm so ready to go. I mean, this... Of course, it's been like a 10-year journey, which we're going to talk about today, but also at the same time, the last like 10 weeks has been like super insane. Like everything that took place over 10 years and then everything that's taking place over like these last couple months is kind of wild. So very excited, but also this is a little crazy. Again, just for a little disclaimer for our listeners, Megan's going on a big trip soon, which we will eventually be talking about. So we're trying to record some episodes before she goes on the trip. So this is a little disclaimer to the story, because I was at a conference, and this whole thing of I had to get the book out like live before we're launching it. And so it was technically available for the last couple weeks to purchase, but somebody found it and bought it, and they sent me a picture of my book yesterday, and I haven't had my book yesterday.
Oh, wait, that's amazing.
I know. It was kind of like a bittersweet one, though. It was just like, that's awesome, but I wish I lived a little closer to wherever the print shop is, because you got it before me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of crazy. Like even just seeing it in somebody's hands is really cool and exciting. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is that as we kind of continue to kick off this podcast, a big heart of it is kind of uncovering this whole framework of what does it mean to live a life of everyday adventure, how to live our ordinary life to the fullest. And so as we kind of continue to build this, what better place to start than the book that really kind of encompasses the whole message?
For sure, yeah. And as the podcast grows, like we'll talk about more than just the book, but I think the podcast really comes from the heartbeat of the book.
Yeah.
And I think like the book kind of started this whole journey that now is becoming the podcast of Everyday Adventure, which is super awesome. So it's kind of our like roots and foundation for this as well. So we're going to jump in though of the book, because this has been a 10-year journey for you to write it, but also to learn to live it out. So
yeah, but before we do, we got to do our anticipation celebration.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
I mean, this is every episode. We're new.
Yeah.
You know, we're still getting the ropes here. But one of the things that's really important to the life of everyday adventure is the idea of celebration and anticipation. So many of us, we get caught in these like 2-year gaps where we haven't anticipated anything because we're caught in the middle of the mundane and we're doing the same things over and over again. Or we just look forward to that one vacation that we get once a year. And so I've just really realized that there's so much power in anticipating sooner and closer. And so that's something we're going to try to do on the podcast. And so, Megan, what's something that you're celebrating right now?
I'm celebrating right now that I get to host all of my life group together on Friday night, and that's something I'm trying to grow in, is being hospitable and open and inviting people over. So I'm just celebrating like gratitude to have a space, to have a home, to have roommates that are willing to let me open the doors, and yeah, I'm just really grateful for that, and for people that want to have community in their 20s. So
that's awesome.
What about you celebrating?
My celebration is very easy. It's the book. I mean,
Right.
we're gonna move past it soon in my celebrations and anticipations, but I just think the coming of fruition of something that's really big has just been really surreal, really exciting, but also really, to be at this point, getting at this point, it's really relieving, because I've just longed for it to be in somebody else's hands, and now that is happening, and just to be able to, even just from launch team members, just sharing little things with me from what they're getting out of it, even though they hadn't even read the whole book yet. And so it's just been really a big kind of, now it's just like the balloon has popped, and now the confetti in my own mind of just like, yay, it's
Yay.
it's here. So yeah, that's what is big right now. But how about anticipation? What are you looking forward to?
Yeah, well, I'm really excited. We have Rhythm Conference coming up. So if you're in the Fargo-Moorhead area, Rhythm Conference is a young adult conference hosted by Northview Church. They put it on, this is the 4th year, and it's a big part of my job. That's where I work, and so I oversee it. And so it is this coming weekend, which is so crazy. So yeah, I'm really excited. It's a time to just like pause, reflect, but also look ahead at what are your rhythms right now, and then what can you implement to actually be sustainable. And so we have a lot of awesome breakout speakers, worship and everything. So it's going to be a really fun weekend.
That's awesome.
One of our speakers is you.
Yeah, I get to do a breakout. I'm actually doing a breakout on the book, or like kind of on the concept behind it. So that'll be super fun. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I'm also looking forward to Summit's birthday. He is turning 6, and so we do a little Monster Jam action. We also do, we're going to do a big birthday party. It's just fun because now he has more friends. Like in the past, it's kind of like, who are the few families that we know? He's got that one preschool friend, but now he's like talking about kids from school. And so he's really excited. So that makes me really excited. So that's a little bit of what I'm looking forward to. And so you listening, take some time to think about what's something that I can celebrate today, and what's something I can anticipate today. And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be something that's just within the next 24 hours of just what's one thing that I can look forward to, because it usually brings a little bit of excitement, joy, gratitude. So do that with us today. But let's now jump into the book.
Okay, I can jump in. I can jump in.
You're eager. You're eager.
Well, that was actually like a really good reminder of like, even I forgot to celebrate and anticipate. It's easy to forget to do. So,
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, anyway, let's jump in by rewinding the clock 10 years ago. How did this all start? Where did the idea of everyday adventure, where were you like when you kind of first dreamed up a book?
Yeah. Well, even before 10 years ago, I have to go back more like 15 years ago. When I was a sophomore in college, I, like many other college students, it was hard to be like in the homework grind and all that stuff. And so I found myself constantly looking forward to summers, and looking forward to that next season, looking forward to the winter break. You get that month off. And so I remember actually coming back from a trip, and we had gone hiking with some friends, and I was back in like class, and I was just so like, this stinks. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, I was like, I wish I was there again. Like, that was so fun. I didn't think about anything, that was heavy or weighty. And now I'm back in that same place again. And that was kind of when the thought kind of came, like, what if instead of, waiting for some big adventure to like start living, what if you just started to embrace every day as an adventure? And so I actually, within probably the next couple of weeks, I was in a class for college that was like new media. And one of the things that was somewhat new, this is going to age me, was blogging. It wasn't like brand new, but it was still like a forming media. And so the instruction was we had to create our own blog based on something that we were passionate about. And so I went home, and it was like a blogger website, and I called it Everyday Adventure. And that was just kind of, when I look back, that was kind of the rumblings of this starting. And so that was just a place for me just to write out my own adventures, to write out what I was thinking about, what I was dreaming about. and just what I was experiencing as a college student. And that just kind of continued to snowball and build and build. And so then it was about 10 years ago where I'd always dreamed of writing a book, or like not dreamed of writing a book, but I always liked writing. And then I started reading books. I was like, oh, that would be really cool. And so I started kind of thinking like, man, this could be a book itself. And so that's when I got this journal. Here, one second. It's nice. I have props today.
Oh my gosh. If you're listening, this
yeah.
thing is on its last leg.
Yes. And so this journal, if you're watching, this is like, it looks like it's from the 1800s, and I bought that way on purpose. Mm-hmm. But I just opened the first page and I wrote Everyday Adventure. This is March 16th, 2016. And I wrote at the top, Everyday adventure is an attitude that I decided to pursue early in college. Many young people today set travel and adventure as one of their highest goals and main priorities. My revelation was that we don't have to go to Alaska to live a lifestyle of adventure. Adventure is an attitude worth pursuing, not a destination. And what this journal kind of became was just different everyday adventure ideas and concepts and things that I was living out and learning out. And a small percentage of them actually made it into the book, but all of it was kind of refining, what does this mean to Stephen? Like, what does this mean to me? And so that was kind of like what sparked it. But really it was from that heart place of, am I really just going to like keep postponing living because, you know, someday I'll graduate college and then I'll get a real job, and someday I'll get married, and someday I'll have kids, like these other dreams that I have. And someday that job will actually allow me to do fun things. Like it just felt like I was just continuing to push off the actual thought of like living my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So from the time that this idea started to form for you, there was 10 years. There was a 10-year kind of gap. What happened in the 10 years? Because I think sometimes you can get the idea, and then what took it a decade, you know?
Are you asking what took you so long?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fair question, Megan. No, I've asked myself that a lot of times. And I mean, I think other people have too. Like, I think that's something that I've had to navigate myself, is that there's been times, and you know me well enough. And if you're getting to know me on the podcast, like I'm a starter, you know, like I love to build things. I love to do new things. And so that's something that took me a while to realize. And then I looked backwards and started like this reflection journey, and just was like, oh my goodness, like I have been a part of starting this and this and this, and I don't see everything through. And so some of them are group projects, and somebody takes over kind of like that doing phase, and that's when it works really well. That's why you and I work really well. But other times in my own life, I've also realized that I've started a lot of things and then never finished them. And that's just kind of, now I'm like, that's how I'm wired. You know, I need people to help me. But the book would, like, the 10-year delay came from, one, the first delay was just, I felt inadequate writing it, and in a good way. Like, I was 23 or 4 years old, and, you know, I just wasn't ready to write this book. And so that was actually the Holy Spirit just like really encouraging me, like, hey, sit with this. And that's why I bought this journal 10 years ago, is because I felt like I needed to sit with this idea and live this idea. And so that was the first delay. And then the next ones were like, I had kids, and I, you know, had work that took a lot from me. And so it was just kind of like a both and of, I just needed to let this simmer more. I think there was more of that. And I was probably harder on myself than I needed to be, because I think if I would have written this 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been what it is today. I wouldn't have had the experiences that I had. I wouldn't have learned some of the things that I've captured in this book. And I know it would be the same if I waited another 10 years. And then our move to New Jersey was really our slowdown. And we write a lot about that in the book, because, like, for me, that was kind of where I realized, like, man, my life is a little bit out of control right now. Like, I am kind of flying right now, and I don't have any rhythms of reflection. I don't have any rhythms of just pausing and seeing what God wants to do in me and through me. I was on autopilot. I was on autopilot, like I write about in the book. And so that was where I just really had space. And so in New Jersey, I just kind of created a rhythm of writing as much as possible every day. And we had a more time, and COVID came, and it was just all of these things that allowed me to actually go like, okay, let's actually write this book. And so I have another prop for those of you watching. I know not everybody's watching, but I read a book about writing a book, and
oh my gosh,
and it had the idea of like a mental map, you know, and so like this mental map is something where I wrote in big circle in the middle, everyday adventure, and then I wrote a bunch of the core concepts that kind of were in my brain at the time, and I'll just give a couple of them because it's kind of funny because originally I highlighted them if I felt like they were going to be a chapter. So discovering your why, extraordinary days, becoming an everyday hero, greatest adventure, maximize the mundane, practice makes perfect, beyond the comfort zone, life is a mist, this is the day, adventure seekers, fillers, the adventure of family, know who you are. But this really became kind of a map. And so then every time I had a new idea, I wrote it on there and then drew a line to kind of that big idea that I thought captured it the best. And so that was really when I started to outline it and like go, okay, no, this is the book. Again, that happened more times since then, and kind of engaging it and having kids and then figuring out like these chapters go here. So that's a big part of it. And then again, 2 years ago, and I'm reminding myself like that's the purpose of this episode, because I'm like, I'm talking too much, but we're talking about
right.
2 years ago, I was gifted a weekend retreat. Like just our friends had a cabin. They basically gifted it to us, and I was able to just spend a weekend alone to write. And I wrote what I thought were the last couple chapters in that, and it was like, wow, I'm close to being done. I made a post on Instagram. I was like, hey, the book is going to be done soon. Remember, that was 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I got back, and then I started to like read it alongside the rest of the book, and I just realized how disjointed it was. The guy that wrote the first part wasn't the guy that wrote the second part, and I just realized some of the messages weren't as important anymore, or I realized that they just fell under something else. So that's when I like restructured it again, and some of that was like there's chapters that were fully written that aren't in the book, and there's also 3 chapters that now became 1. And so that was kind of like, all right, now, as much as it's weird to say it was almost done 2 years ago, but the finish line was in sight. And then obviously just started to get really disciplined about the writing process. And the last 6 months has been kind of more so finishing, like getting the editing, all that stuff. And if I were to do it all over again, I would realize that part takes way longer than I thought it does. Like I just thought once I'm done writing, it's just done. And it's just like, no, that's kind of where the party begins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, it's a memory for me being along on the journey for like about that 2-year mark 2 years ago. And I remember you had like the stack of note cards of, you know, quotes that you wanted included, or other ideas or one-liners, and you would go through your notes and you would be like, okay, does this fit somewhere? And I was like, this is just crazy. Like there's so much that goes into a book that it's not just writing it. But are there memories for you that stick out over the last 2 years, 10 years? Like what memories stick out in the writing process for you?
I mean, there's quite a few, and like the one you were even speaking to, like you got to be a part of a lot from the last couple of years, which is super fun. And one of them was I put everything that I had digitized into note cards, and that was really helpful and really fun because then it was like visual of like what I had left. And some of the memories that I have that really stand out are from New Jersey. It's from just like early mornings. I started to write at 6 a.m. every day, or as many days as possible. And we just had like this little room, and there's things that you'll read in the book that were written from that space. And so for me, it's really special because it's like, again, I was writing in present tense 5 years ago, so I've had to make some edits of how it sounds and stuff. But there's things like when I was writing, I was literally writing the chapter that's called Embrace Today, and it's about, there's a section called Life is a Mist, and I looked out the window from where I was writing, and there was like a fog that was like outside that window, and it was just like one of those kind of beautiful fogs in the moonlight type situations. And then within 10 minutes it was gone, and it was just like, whoa, like this is what I'm actually writing about. And so I would say things like that stand out. There was other aspects, whether it was like the late nights and the early mornings, or just the people that kind of chipped in along the way, whether through these last few months of editing. And one of my editors was Cordell, who's one of my best friends. He's an English teacher. He's a words guy. And it was just super fun to get his perspective and to have him be a part of it, or recording the audiobook with my friend Chris, or Ryan and Ashley doing the graphic design. So a lot of writing a book is a very solo mission. And so the last couple months have been really fun to include more people in on it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you talked about writing in New Jersey, writing part of that book. And so are there any other places that have now become like, oh yeah, like I sat here and I wrote this chapter? Like, are there places around town that you can be like, oh, I know exactly what I was doing in this chair at this table?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, first of all, we're in a room that a lot of it, this has been this is my office. We're multi-purpose room here.
Mm-hmm.
But this room, the early morning aspect of it, of just like finally getting into that rhythm of like, what does it look like to write with 3 young kids? I think that was part of my excuse for a long time, was just like, when am I going to get the time? And then I don't know if I talked to somebody or something, and it just really started to stick of like, I have to make the time. And if I really do care about it, like I'm going to make the time. And so just making it more of a rhythm to get up a little bit earlier, to not hold myself to, I need to write a whole chapter today, but just like, even if I fill a page today, like that's a win. And so that was a big thing. But there's a few places that stand out. One, there's this coffee shop. I don't even know what it's called. I wanted to call it Upper Room, but it's not. It's Higher Grounds. Mm-hmm. It's in Fergus Falls. It's it's open very sporadically. And I learned that through the process. I would show up there and I'd be like, okay, we're closed today. It's just Tuesday at 11 a.m., but we're closed today. Not last Tuesday, but today. Mm-hmm. And so, but there we lived in Fergus Falls for 6 months. And so for whatever reason, they had this like little upper balcony that just felt like words came a lot easier. Maybe it was like the 70-year-old women having conversations that just made me feel at home.
For sure. It was, yeah.
But that's one. Babs in Fargo was the place that in college I spent a lot of time. And so actually in the last year or two, that was a place I returned to quite a bit, because I don't know why, because so much was formed to me in those years. And there was a lot of time of journaling or writing blogs in that Babs, that it was really fun to go back there. And I felt like, again, their seats are terrible. So Babs, you're listening to this, get new seats. But, if this book really flies off the shelves, we're going to buy you new seats. Mm-hmm. But it was just something that every time I went there, it just felt like holy ground, just like, okay, this is a place that I can write, and God meets me there. And so yeah, that's another significant one. And I mean, I've written kind of everywhere in between. Bruhala, it was a great place. And but I would say those spots stand out the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any like core lessons that you've learned throughout the writing process, whether that's about the idea of everyday adventure or just about yourself as well?
I mean, I can do things that I start, I can finish what I start. Like, again, it took a lot of encouragement. It took going quote unquote public, to really push me over that edge. I feel like when people started asking me constantly, when's the book coming out? And I had to deal with the internal part, and then I had to deal with the external, like, oh, I just underestimated how much time it takes. Mm-hmm. And then, but at the same time, I think I do that added, I wouldn't call it pressure, but just that added responsibility and that added recognition that there's people that want this and that are excited about this. And now I have people that I want to do this with and for. So I think that was something I learned, is just like, some things are good in private, and then sometimes there's a time and place for it to become public. That's maybe one thing. It's just the timing on that aspect. I think the learning process itself, I hope to write more books. And so like how I take notes, I had read hundreds of books in that period of time, many of them on similar topics, or, and I just had no real rhyme or reason to how I would remember what I read. And so I started doing better note taking and different things like that. And then just the whole premise of the book is what I've learned the most of. We were together one day and it was the day I finished the conclusion, and you asked me, like, how does it feel to be done with the book? And I kind of unexpectedly broke down, and it wasn't because of deep gratitude for being done. It was because that very morning I was trying to finish, and my kids came in and quote unquote interrupted me, and I kind of shooed them away, and I was kind of angry, and I that was and it was like literally I was wrapping up the words that have been me trying to resist that and trying to embrace those interruptions and trying to embrace those little mundane ordinary moments with them. And so I think that's just something too, is like this is still something I get to do, and I'm grateful that by thinking about it so much and talking about it so much, that it has become more of my life. But there's always more when it comes to intentionality and just being present when I am present. I love to work. It's not like my dream is not to work 2 hours a week. I like work. I think there's a reason. I'm a big football guy, and somebody asked me, like, why is that guy, it was Tom Brady or Matt Ryan, like, why is he continue to work in football when he's done? Like, he has enough money to live forever. I'm like, yeah, but he's built for purpose and to work, and like that it brings him joy. And I don't know where they're at in their faith, but like for me, it's worship to work, and so but at the same time, it's actually embracing all of that and learning all of that along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good. Well, let's jump into the book itself. So give us the big picture of Everyday Adventure. If you could give like the 2-minute elevator pitch of what this book is.
Yeah, no, I think that's good, because what the next handful of episodes are going to be is taking different chunks of the book, and then not only just us talking about it and really fleshing it out of like what that can mean to you as a listener, but really also inviting some conversations with some people to talk about it from their vantage point and from their view. They didn't write the book, but they've been living this part, and I just wanted to invite them to be on it. And so but today, yeah, I just think the biggest thing that kind of stems from the heartbeat of this is that adventure is closer than you think. Like, that's kind of a tagline, you could say, is that adventure isn't out there, it's right here. And I'm stealing something from the conclusion of the book, but it stands out for this, and that's because I was watching the movie Up with our kids, and the whole Carl and Ellie storyline, and they meet as kids and they want to go on these great adventures, and then there's this kind of repeated thing where they have this piggy bank, their adventure fund, and they keep breaking it to pay for something in their home, to pay for something that comes up. And there's this very unique scene that is in a kid's movie, and it's probably very unlike anything else, but they have a miscarriage, and parents can see it, but kids obviously missed it. I missed it before we had kids, and we had our own miscarriage. Like, I didn't even realize that until I was watching it a couple years ago. I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is deep. And Ellie dies. Carl really thinks that he missed out on adventure. Like, he just missed the boat on it. Like, he never made her dream come true. And he lives with a lot of guilt. And so he flies his house to that place. And when he gets there, all of these crazy things happen. But when he gets there, he opens up her adventure book. And the words that stand out are thanks for the adventure, And it's just this idea that he was the adventure, that their marriage was the adventure, that the journey was the adventure. It wasn't Paradise Falls. It was their life together. And that for me felt like a perfect bow for this whole thing, because so often, like, the whole tagline of the book was adventure is out there, or of the movie. But for them, it was, no, it's right here. And that's the heart of this book, is that adventure is right here. It's in the mundane. It's in the ordinary. It's not somewhere else. It's now. It's not in a future job. It's not in a future season. It's not in a future spouse. It's not in a future anything. It's like today, God has made room for adventure. Psalm 118:24 says, "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." And that verse kind of jump started the whole thing from like the scripture standpoint. And then the book really covers scripture. Life is a mist, and seek first his kingdom and righteousness. All these things kind of play together in me just uncovering what everyday adventure is. But it really starts from that point. Is this like, is adventure, am I willing to redefine it? Is it something that will always be just around the next corner and in the next season and in the next place? Or do I actually fully, truly believe that this life, like the one that I have now, so for me, the one with 3 kids and, first grade or kindergarten or preschool, like that this can be adventure. And so that's kind of the heart of the book. Family and work are not, things that stand in the way of you and adventure. They are the adventure if we lean into how God wants us to be in those moments. And so that's a little bit of the flyover. I know there's more that we could dive into just, with it all, but yeah.
Yeah. Can I tell you, I've seen the movie Up once and I cried so hard that I can't watch it again.
Oh no, come on, you gotta watch it again.
It just struck, I think, such a chord of the whole idea behind it. I mean, it's obviously you just explained the plot to it, but it really is the same heartbeat of the book too, and in such a similar way. And so it really is like your adventure is right now, and I don't want to get to the end of my life and have missed it and feel like I have missed it and not taken, advantage of every single day that you have. And so, yeah, but let's jump in. So if someone were to open the book, what can they expect like right away? What's, in between the spines? So the intro, first chapter, give us a glimpse of it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the introduction is really the story behind it in a way. It's me kind of leading into why this is relevant to me, and then asking questions of like trying to find the pulse of the reader of just like, hey, is this you? Like, are you looking for joy in the future and looking for fulfillment down the road, and kind of inviting them into that. And then the first chapter, it's kind of unconventional because my first chapter isn't like a part of the big storyline. The first chapter is just called Embrace Today. And that's where it starts. And that's really kind of the heartbeat of it, is that as we embrace today, we start to see God in every moment, and we can see what he's trying to do, and we can see the opportunities. And that really stemmed from, for me, some loss in my life, whether it's my cousin when I was 14 or a boy named Landon who was 12 when I worked with AO1. And both of those losses just really caused me to look introspectively of like, man, life is not guaranteed. Like, life is short, life is brief. Billy Graham once said, like, the thing that shocks him the most is the brevity of life. And he was saying that as an old man because it just goes so fast, and like we can't control everything, but it's short. And so that's really the first chapter, is really inviting people to see their today in a new light. And then there's 3 kind of overarching parts, and this is what we're going to break down. But pursue intentionality, resist complacency, and develop resilience. These are all adventure like themes of, if you want to be an adventurer. And I actually read a few books like on true adventure, and some of that kind of snuck its way in because I've had my own, and I like to be outdoors. I like backpacking. I just haven't done it a ton in the last several years, but I really enjoy that. And the things that I learned through those experiences are the ones that I'm trying to translate back to life. So resisting complacency. Like, of course, nobody that's accomplished any great expedition was complacent and stagnant. Like, they moved forward. And so what does that mean for us, and same with resilience. Like, I look at some of the stories of Everest, it's like, to get to that point, like you have to keep going when it's hard. And so there's going to be temptation to quit on like the life that God has for us, but we have to keep going. We have to press on. And so those are a little bit of the what to expect. I write a lot of stories from my own life. I share some stories like the one from Up or others that have just really struck me and really grabbed me when it comes to the concept of the book. So it's very much like most chapters start with some sort of narrative story, and then it kind of turns toward like, what does the Bible say? What does this mean for me? How can I live because of this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that actually leads me into kind of another question of, how did the idea of life is a mist and live for today change the way that you live? Like, practically, how did it change your life?
Yeah, I mean, again, there's that gravitational pull to always, drift back. It was through some of those experiences, and then specifically, Kobe Bryant, kind of NBA legend, died in a helicopter crash. And the world just kind of asked, like, and started to say things like on national media, like Shaquille O'Neal's like, hug your family, hug your loved ones, tell everybody that you love them. And I'm like, why does that drift 2 months after? Like, why aren't we still thinking like that? And so for me, it was just like this constant reminder of like, I need to put that in front of me, not like the mortality side of it, but to really put that. That's why I pray Psalm 118:24 almost every day. Like, that's like been a rhythm for about 12 or 13 years. Is before I even get out of bed, I think that, or I pray that, of like, this is the day that you have made. Like, so that's the first invitation, is just like, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And so that's kind of the heartbeat, or what's really pulled for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's next? We did the overview of the book kind of, but I think we plan to do a deep dive into the book as well. And so what can people expect moving forward?
Yeah. So in the coming episodes, we're going to really break down those big part ideas: intentionality, complacency, and resilience. And so we're going to talk about those things, and then we're going to have a conversation with somebody that kind of owns that area. And so that's going to be kind of the spark, is that we're not going to necessarily go through every chapter. Like, the encouragement is actually get the book and read it. And then when we're having these conversations, we're going to toy it out. And that's what's going to happen for the entirety of this podcast. Not necessarily the exact concepts from the book, but this is the place where the book can become living, in the sense that we need that constant encouragement of, okay, how can I live an adventure today? How can I embrace today? Well, we're going to invite those conversations, give challenges, but that's a little bit of what's coming next. So one thing that I'm really excited about, our next episode coming out next week, is with Carson Wentz, who is a good friend of mine. We met when he was a college student, but he's played NFL quarterback for 10 years now. He just played with the Vikings, and he wrote the foreword for the book. And so I had him on, and we just had a conversation about what does life to the fullest mean to you. We talked about just his own adventures of family and marriage, and how he's lived this incredibly extraordinary life in a lot of our eyes, of like, man, an NFL quarterback, that's crazy. And it is. But he also talks about how he stayed grounded, and how the Lord has just kind of reminded him through the highs and the lows that the adventure is him, and the adventure is family. So I'm super excited to have everybody hear that episode as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also part of this is kind of the idea of an adventure challenge. Yeah. And so how can we live this out? So tell us what our adventure challenge is this week.
Yeah. Each week we're going to have a challenge. And so that's where we as a community get to join together, and we're going to encourage sharing. We're going to encourage on Everyday Adventure, which is Instagram, or stephenglosser.com/podcast. There's going to be opportunities to share your adventures. You can leave a voice memo, you can leave a comment, you can post a picture, but we really want to encourage people to lean into this. And so the challenge for this week is the Embrace Today challenge. And so as we kind of kicked off the book, and the idea is basically fill in this blank. Today I embraced today by blank. And just whether that's a note in your phone and you take a screenshot of it, or just do something that, like, consciously today I'm going to embrace today. So read out Psalm 118:24. Like, this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And then throughout the day, just think of what's one way that I can embrace today in a significant and meaningful way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like you mentioned, like, this is meant to be done in community. We want to engage with you guys. We want to see what you're doing. And so like and subscribe to our podcast, but also follow the Instagram, Everyday Adventure. We'll be posting on there, but then also it's, tag us when you're doing these things, and and when you're learning and figuring this out, because it's a journey. You're 10 years in, but you got 10, 20, 30 years ahead of you as well. Yeah.
And so much of this has been like me and my wife kind of figuring this out, and maybe a few close friends. So I'm excited to invite so many others into it, and that we can live it out together. Because I know I'm going to be challenged by some of you and some of what you're doing, and how you're thinking about this. And so definitely, if you haven't already, subscribe and follow the podcast. And then with each episode, just whether you send us a DM or you post and tag us, let's just lean into this and see where it can go. And so share the podcast with somebody if you feel like it's going to be impactful to them. share with them. And we're just excited to see how this whole thing unravels. But we're so grateful that you're listening today and watching today. We're looking forward to what the Everyday Adventure podcast is going to be.
Yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon.